Hello and hope you have a good time. Today we want to talk about one of the 7 wonders of the world. There are countless wonders in different cultures and countries of the planet, from exotic buildings to seas and extraordinary events, each of which carries behind it a past and a timeless story. Stories that are sometimes believable and simple, and sometimes even if you see it with your own eyes, you cannot believe it. One of these strange buildings is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and we want to produce some information about it, so join us. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Many scholars and historians say that the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were built by order of King Nebuchadnezzar in 600 years BC. The garden was built as a gift from Nebuchadnezzar to his wife Amethyst. Subscribe our YouTube channel to watch the rest of this video and more. Amethyst was a Median priest who, after marrying Nebuchadnezzar and going to Babylon, became ill because she was not accustomed to the dry climate of Mesopotamia, and Bakhtal-Nasr ordered the construction of suspended gardens to restore her health. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon was actually an artificial mountain on which gardens were built. The gardens were square in shape and had arched domes built on a checkered floor. Porches built around the roof were connected to the bottom by stairs. Plants planted in hanging gardens were planted on the floor of the garden porches instead of in the ground. The water of the river was poured into steep canals through lifting equipment and a chain pump consisting of 2 large wheels, and flowed through the garden like natural rivers. These gardens are said to have been destroyed by several earthquakes in the 2nd century BC. These gardens were located in Iraq and had plants and animals brought from all over the world. In the 20th century, some of the secrets of the suspended gardens were revealed, as archaeologists have found the foundations of these gardens in their excavations at the site of the ancient city of Babylon. Another discovery relates to the main vaulted building, which consisted of thick walls and an irrigation well. Of course, in addition to all this, some historians are skeptical about the existence of such gardens in general, because only Greek historians have said about these gardens and their beauty and greenery, and in the Babylonian inscriptions there is no mention of these gardens. They say that the Hanging Gardens of Babylon are the result of the imagination of Alexander the Great's soldiers, who on their return from Babylon to Greece spoke of the greenery of Babylon to their countrymen, and the poets elaborated on their descriptions and created images of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Some historians consider the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to be the result of the imagination of the ancient Greeks, who heard about the beauties of Babylon from the soldiers of Alexander the Great. However, the existence of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is still a historical mystery. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are not literally hanging from a rope. The word is actually a mistranslation of the Greek word kremastos or the Latin word pensilis, meaning overlapping or overlooking the terrace and balcony. The Greek geographer Strabo, who described these gardens in the 1st century BC, writes, "The garden consists of arched terraces that are placed on top of each other and on top of the cubic columns. These hollow terraces are filled with soil to plant large trees. These columns, arcs, and terraces are made of baked brick and bitumen. Across to the top floor was through a staircase with 2 special irrigation systems on either side, through which people carried water from a Euphrates to the gardens. The construction of the garden was not difficult to supply water to its upper parts, but again in the construction of those points should be taken into account that the water supply does not cause damage to the building, since it was difficult to find and transport stone to the plains of the Mesopotamia. Most of the buildings in Babylon were made of brick and clay. The bricks were made of a mixture of clay and straw and baked in the sun. These bricks were then joined together using bitumen as mortar. Unfortunately, due to the material used, the bricks were likely to dissolve in water. Of course, this was not common a problem for other buildings in Babylon because it rarely rains in Babylon. But since these gardens were to be constantly irrigated, the building needs more protection. The Greek historian Diodorus Siculus states that the garden platforms were covered with large boulders and then covered with straw, bitumen, and tiles. A layer of lead also prevented water from reaching the lower layers, and on all of them, the thickness of soil required for the growth of large trees was finally placed. Diodorus says that these gardens were 122 meters wide, 122 meters long, and more than 24 meters high. In some quotations, the highest of these gardens is equal to the height of the outer walls of the city. Herodotus states that this height is 100 meters. However, these spectacular gardens offered an amazing view of a lush artificial mountain that rises from the heart of the plain.